Hello, I'm Marianne of Let Go and Know. I'm so happy to be with you. Now, today I would love to talk about the foundation for a really happy life and living from who you really are. And funny enough, I'm going to be talking about struggle because I think it's so important for the sake of clarity in your life to lay a foundation for why we're struggling in the first place. It's part of the solution to letting go of living a life that's filled with pushing and effort and anxiety and fear. So there were four areas that I came up with as to why we struggle: conditioning, over identification with ego, resistance, and mind chatter. So we struggle because we've learned to identify with our minds and our bodies and our stories and, who we are, name, age, accomplishments, even your beliefs, where you come from, the type of culture you come from. But if you really look at this, even though, we have such allegiance to it, we were actually born with none of this. And it creates a lot of limitation. And the result is that we feel boxed in by all of these thoughts and feelings that pretty much aren't even ours to begin with. So when you come to create a life, you create it from a space of limitation. And it's difficult and it feels like you're pushing and swimming against the tide of life instead of creating from a space of being the expansive and glorious and infinite being that you actually are. Now, the false self, the limited self, as you've probably found out already, tries to control everything in your life. And self doubt and fear and anxiety can take over when you're not connected with who you really are or connected with your creator, because it's all one. And when you don't remember who you really are. And these states lead to struggle. So I feel that it's really great to see what's going on, to just stop and look at it and just take a deep breath and go, okay, I'm going to look at this. Why am I struggling through life? Let's have a look, because you can go for years and years and years and decades without actually looking. That's why I feel it's really fundamental to examine this before you move on with, expanding into your juicy life. Because then you're empowered to change it. So because we don't like to feel uncomfortable, obviously, we resist. I'm not going to call them negative emotions because that's a bit judgmental. Let's just call them uncomfortable emotions. And then this leads to further struggle. So, what can you do? When you allow the uncomfortable emotion, whatever it is, to come up, this allowance, this is glorious and this is absolutely magical. This allowance means that you meet it in a way that dismantles it naturally. So there's actually, oh my God, nothing for you to do except to be willing to choose allowance rather than resistance. It's absolutely huge. Please invite it into your life and experiment with it, because this is all who you really are. You are not the struggle. This relaxation and expansion and glorious way of being, it's so subtle, it's so scintillating, it's just everything all at once. This is who you really are. But our conditioning creates a layering, it creates a buildup of dense energy in our energy field and indeed in our cells and our physical body. And when you choose, even open up to the knowing of who you really are, you can move through this dense energy easily and it'll fall away naturally. And the reason for this is, the reason it's so natural and pure is that it doesn't exist at the level of your truth. That's why doing this feels so natural and beautiful and there's no resistance. It's not real. The struggle isn't real. It is actually an illusion. I'll have to go into more about that later because that can be a really annoying thing to hear. And in no way do I mean any disrespect if you're going through something that's heavy or difficult. It just comes from personal experience, and I wonder, does it ring true in your heart? But it doesn't exist at the level of your truth. The struggle, the density doesn't exist at the level of your truth, at the level of who you really are. And this isn't a concept, remember, it isn't just some la la, who I am. This is real. It's right there, it's real. And it's more real than the struggle and the pain that you might be experiencing right now. It's what's true about you. It's your everyday self that isn't real. So when you place your attention on your truth, or even if you don't know how to do that, just open up to it, because it's beckoning you all the time, it's ever present. So when you place your attention on this rather than on the struggle, that dense energy, your life can transform. So as I mentioned, another cause of struggle and conflict is due to an over-identification with your false self, with your ego. Most people live from the false self. And the ego it's a fabrication of the mind. And I notice there's a lot of demonizing of the ego, which makes me feel uncomfortable. You see images used, and people represent the ego as this drooling, befanged little monster, if there's such a word as befanged, but you know what I mean. I'm sure you've seen it. It's just not helpful. Just realize that your ego is only trying to protect you. So you could actually choose to be grateful for its attempts and see it for what it is. And then you can integrate it, or funny enough, actually, it's not even you have to, like there's doing involved. This is the glorious thing I'm talking about. It integrates of its own accord when you choose this path. When you choose this path of not berating it and allowing it and seeing it and being grateful for it and bringing love into it. So one of the things that it does is it'll have us in a continual state of waiting so that, I don't know if you've noticed this, we can arrive at a place where life is perfect. So just see through that. Just be aware of that. And of course, the solution is to become more present. So again, practically, what can you do? Witnessing how the ego works and putting distance between yourself and your compulsive thoughts is going to make it so much easier for you to feel peace in your everyday life. So I'll go into this at a later stage. I'll give you the full tool. But just for a few minutes each day, even for 1 minute if you're really busy, just stop and see, feel that you are not what you're thinking about. We really identify with it sometimes, but that isn't you. You are not your thoughts. You're not your mind. You're not what you're thinking about. And just see that there is distance between you and your thoughts. It's really liberating. And why is this? Because you are the awareness behind your thoughts. If you knew, or if you know who you really are, you wouldn't feel the compulsion to control, because you would know and feel in your everyday life your innate power. And you can awaken to the truth, the reality that you are and always have been the person you long to become. I'd love if you absorbed that for a moment. So now I want to talk about another reason why we struggle, and that is resistance. One of the main reasons why we have that inner conflict and that general sense of unease in the background or whatever is because of resistance. And it's so important to look at this and to bring your awareness to it so that you can be, yeah, I was going to say be free of it, but you probably won't be 100% free of it all the time, but it's extremely empowering to bring your awareness to it. And it's just as I was saying, that kind of ick feeling of swimming against the tide of life, pushing, pushing, pushing. And I have found I imagine you have too, that the resistance of the pain is actually worse than the pain itself. So, have you noticed that when something's happening in your life that you don't want, there's this instant reaction within you, and you meet that moment by resisting it? Boom, it's right there, conditioned, ingrained. You deny it and you reject it. I don't want that. And that's what creates the resistance. And the resistance creates the struggle. And this is where you get stuck. Because if you feel into it, the moment itself is actually neutral. But it's your judgment of it that creates the problem. So when an unwanted moment comes up, arises in your life, you can resist what's happening because you compare it to something that you had wanted, because you had a previous idea about how you thought the moment should be, and then you judge it, you just go, no, don't want this, and that's it. Then the pushing starts. And we deny, it's very obvious, we deny the moment because we don't want to have uncomfortable feelings. I mean, it is totally understandable. But we always have the choice, this is huge, about where to place our attention. So when you come up against a problem, so to speak, or a challenge, you can let go of struggle by seeing the main challenge that you're facing is actually yourself. And there's no judgment here because it's not your fault, it's due to your conditioning. You get in your own way. So I really would suggest that you don't allow your usual reaction to run its course. You can interrupt it. And when you become aware, you can see that so often that situation, that the problem, the challenge, the way you feel about it, all of that energy doesn't actually exist without your resistance to it. It doesn't have to be there. It's the resistance that's kind of stimulating it, almost like a morphic field. So you could allow all of your emotions to flow without trying to control them, because most of us have been raised to judge certain emotions as being bad. You know, you shouldn't feel that, suppress that. And this causes much of the resistance that we can feel in our lives. It is much more natural to feel these emotions rather than put a stop to them due to this conditioning, because you've been told, oh, they're not good for you to feel. So what can you do? Well, imagine if you let go of the fear and the conditionings and the beliefs that are no longer serving you. You could allow the truth beneath the struggle to teach you about who you really are. Because divine intelligence, it's inseparable from you and it lives within you, and it will lovingly help you to know your truth when you still your mind for long enough, and when you choose to be present and hear it. You struggle because you're out of alignment with this intelligence. This is absolutely key, and this is what your emotions are teaching you as well, which is amazing because you don't have to suffer, and you can use that contracted, boxed in feeling as guidance, as a guidance system. So you struggle because you're out of alignment with this divine intelligence, with what you really are. And you can live from space and ease when you allow yourself to receive what is being offered to you in every moment. It's always there, it's ever present. What's being offered to you by divine love, by divine intelligence. So if you look at it this way, you can see that maybe life is nudging you to look at it from a different point of view. The struggle, the pain, the lack, the heaviness, you can see this now, from now on, as a guidance system towards a required shift into a new a new lighter way of being for you, into you resting in who you really are. So if you really look at it fundamentally, I think the bottom line is struggle happens fundamentally because you think that you're separate from your source. And this is where allowance and faith come in so that you can experience beingness. So next time, if you're going through a challenge, please know, please remind yourself, if you have to write this down, put it all over your house, know that you are bigger than any problem you have. Your capacity is huge, it's infinite. So please trust yourself. You can step into an effortless flow when you let go of the struggle that's caused by resisting life. Please trust your own power and trust your creator. You can connect to this power in the moment that you feel stressed. And don't cloud your mind with ties from the past or fears about the future. Again, when you live in the present moment, you can bring into your life what you need now. It can be revealed to you what the next best step is. And when you allow in this way, then your life becomes juicy. So, another cause of struggle is mind chatter and resistance to it again. Now, this is a big one because it can hold you captive. So, yeah, for that reason, I think I'm going to do a separate audio just on that topic, just on the topic of mind chatter. Because once again, when you see what's going on there, you can be empowered and you can live from a different space. And I'll give you a couple of practical tools there as well so that you can be more clear and expansive and not feel controlled by the old monkey mind. So just to touch on it now very briefly, I just suggest that you don't make a problem of your mind chatter because very often people can resent it for getting in the way of their inner peace, and that's just not helpful. So just acknowledge it and then choose where to place your attention. Know that you can give yourself permission to stop trying to figure it all out yourself, because that is what's going to lead to a loop of mind chatter. And then when you do this, you can hear the loving guidance of your intuition. Now, intuition, that's definitely, I'm going to do another separate audio on that, intuition and how to connect with it. So, in ending this time together, let me say, you are magnificent. You can let go of struggle and know who you really are. Just be. Allow your being to shine and dissolve the mental chatter, the conditioning, the identification with your ego, and resistance. See through it. Just beneath it is freedom. It was such a pleasure to connect with you today, and if you want to know more, and I have some goodies for you, you can pop over to www.letgoandknow.com. So until next time, much love.